Welcome back, everyone, to the program. Let's get some other views on some of the issues we're discussing tonight. I'm being joined by Senator Adamu Bulkachuwa, a member of the All Progressives Congress APC, representing Bauchi North Senatorial District in the National Assembly. Thank you so much, distinguished Senator, for joining us tonight. You heard what Chief Ayo Adebanjo said about the state of the nation, the Constitution Amendment. What are your reactions to that?
Thank you for having me on this program. I've listened, but I was wondering, is Ayo Adebanjo really in tune with what is happening in Nigeria today? He seems so obsessed with his feeling, or rather a very feeling, about the concept of one Nigeria, which has to be guided by the Constitution of the Federal Republic. But he seems to dismiss all that and consider that the Constitution is all fraud. How? How can we run such a Constitution? Obasanjo worked with that Constitution for 8 years. Between Yar'Adua and Goodluck Jonathan, they all worked with this Constitution. Where was he in this country? He never challenged the Constitution until now, because 2023 election is around the corner. So that's my view. I think he has lost touch with reality, and I think he cannot even differentiate between law and ethnic bigotry.
So, in your own view, because it disagreed with a few things in the manner in which some things are being done in the country, especially the political leadership of the country, I'd like you also to react to that part of the conversation.
Well, you see, whatever happens in this country, except the illegal things, except the violence, except for the Boko Haram and the other kidnappers and the rest of those hooligans that go about killing people, I think everything that is being done by the government, by the National Assembly, by the judiciary, is all constitutional. And lawyers are there to disagree. Wherever they see that something is done unconstitutionally, they can go to court. And the courts are there for them. And they prosecute cases. So I can't see how he would say things are not being done rightly. Everything is being done. The National Assembly is doing its job. We have to make laws, and we have to consider current and issues that lead to good governance. So what is his complaint? I can't even understand.
Let's focus now on the Constitution and the amendment process. So, for example, Senator Bulkachuwa, give me your view on those who debate and said, this Constitution is not the people's Constitution. It was imposed on us by the military. And he says, we the people, and those who argue that there are no people, I mean, as it should be, the ethnic nationalities. Do you agree with that school of thought?
No, I don't, because, of course, I agree that maybe the Constitution was amended by several military administrations. I remember I was part of the 1994-95 Constitution Review Committee, or rather drafting committee. I was there, and I was an elected member then. And we drafted a constitution, and we were all civilians, except some few retired military men who contested election, and or some of them that were nominated by the then government of President General Abacha. But basically, we debated, and we're all civilians. Those of us who maybe know a bit of constitutional governance, and those who are just simple politicians, grassroots politicians, we all contributed and came up with a constitution which was later slightly amended by a committee set up by General Abacha. And after his demise, General Absalami also came and amended the already amended one to suit his own purpose, to suit the purpose of his short administration. Then Obasanjo came under that same constitution. And Obasanjo amended a few things. And that is the nature of constitutions. As we practice it, as we work with it, we find some faults, and the sensible thing to do there is to amend those areas that are not properly put in place, and with the view of the majority of Nigerians. And Nigerians are not just a group of people that will come from nooks and corners. They are the Nigerians that I'm talking about are those that are elected to represent the majority of Nigerians that are of voting age. So that constitution can be amended, and that's what the sensible thing to do. You never find a place where they throw away their constitution and say, let's start a new one. The only way that can be done is when you have a fresh military government, which in the first instance will suspend the constitution and then design their own. But in this case, we practiced this constitution for 16 years, now for another 6 years. That is about 20 plus years. So if during its use, we found that there are some clauses that are either obsolete or they don't protect the interests of the people, then certainly you get the opinion of generality of Nigerians, and then you take note of that, and we debate it in the National Assembly. There is no corner of Nigeria that is not represented in the National Assembly. So, I mean, it doesn't have to, we don't have to call every Nigerian, 200 million of us, to say, okay, ask each person to say, oh yes, tell us your view. And that is not practical. That's madness. So why are elections held? To represent the people. That's the meaning of parliament. So I think what we are doing is on the right track.
So we're seeing some insurgency in the northeast region of the country, banditry and kidnapping in northwest part of the country and in the north central region of the country. In the southeast, we're seeing arson, we're seeing killings and kidnappings. Some people have said, look, some of these agitations and the violence that we see are linked to agitations against the structure of this country and the manner in which the things are run, especially from the view of the Constitution. Do you agree that the agitations and some of the situation in the country are linked to the issue of the Constitution?
No, I think all this banditry, the agitations and killings and kidnappings are all prelude to 2023 election. I think there are some people who thought democracy is not good enough for them. So they want to devise their own means of belonging to this entity called Nigeria. And that if they don't have their wish, so let Nigeria go to pieces. I mean, is that anything that Constitution allows or Constitution encourages? So they are absolutely outside the rim of the Constitution. And they are just rebels, they are just arsonists, they are criminals in short. So what are we going to consider to even give them a chance to say, look, come and say your wish and let Nigerians bow and tremble before them and say, okay, we'll grant you your wish. Those insurgents in the southeast, they are all claiming that they want their own country called Biafra, right? And if that is the case, is that by killing people that they will get their country? They have tried it before. Do they want us to go back to the same route? I don't think so. But if they do, if that's what they choose, has Nigeria got any choice? Will we just allow them and bow and say, yes, we will grant you your wish by killing people? No. Nigerian government has to stand up and fight them and bring them to order.
So, I mean, what gives you the feeling that what is happening, the killings that we're seeing about 2023, could you throw some more light, shed light on what you just said, the pointers? What are those things that gives you that feeling? Or do you have any research that is linked to that? Shed more light on that.
No, you see, before this time, when they murder and they say there must be a presidency, we have to get together with a dialogue and that presidency has to be zoned. Is that democracy? Is that what the Constitution says? Why should presidency be zoned? Let it be for each political party to do whatever they wish in accordance with their own constitution. If they want to zone presidency to anywhere, let them do that, and let Nigerians judge. When they feel their candidates, Nigerians will judge. I thought the question of democracy is a game of numbers. When elections take place, the majority wins. The minority have to give up if they are being constitutional, if they are being abiding by the law. But if some people say either we get the presidency or the country go to pieces, then obviously everything was targeted towards the election.
So, because I asked earlier if you have, if you could tell us if there is anything, evidence to show that all of these violence and killings are about 2023 elections. Do you have any?
Well, look, I don't have to come up with a police report or record or intelligence report or record, but we have lived in this country, and I have seen several elections from the one in 1960, which was conducted actually in 59. But you never see this kind of thing. And each time an election is approaching, within 2 years, you find one form of violence or the other. If you have not forgotten, the trouble that brought the first coup was started from the western region, when there was trouble all over Lagos and neighboring states of Lagos. There were no states then, but it was the western region. And that culminated into the coup of 1966. That was after the first election. So it's on record that these things have been recurring each time the election is approaching. So this cannot be different.
So, I mean, I look at it because there are different, you have the school of thought where you stand on the issue of whether or not we should leave the Constitution and amend it until we get it to a good point. And for those who say, oh, we don't want it, we need to overhaul. But is there anything wrong, Senator, for if Nigerians say, look, this is what we had, and it's not working for us, and we want to change it? Is there anything wrong with that stance? Do citizens have the legitimate power or right to say, it's not working, we need to change this document?
Of course, the Nigerian citizens have the right to even say we don't want a constitution, this type of constitution, and any type of Western constitution. We can devise our own, yes. But in the meantime, what do we work with? What do we work with up to the 2023 election? Or do you want a situation where Constitution will be suspended pending the emergence of a new one, and then in the meantime, the whole political terrain and situation changes into something unknown, something unenvisaged? I mean, yes, we have the right to say we don't want this constitution, but if we follow the norms of democracy, every country has an initial constitution and they keep changing it, amending it from time to time. And you can ask lawyers, they always quote amendments, amendments so, even in the United States, where we borrowed this current constitution. Yes, we can do that. But how many people really in Nigeria are asking for a brand new constitution? Only those who are vocal minority, they are the ones asking. I represent a group of people, and in that area, I am telling you, they are for this constitution to be amended as and when necessary.
So quickly, before we move into issues relating to security and the state of the nation, I'd like you to just briefly give us your view on this. What guarantee can Nigerians get that this exercise, this constitutional amendment process, will lead us to somewhere that will gladden or resolve our problems? I remember listening to one of the presentation asking that what we are operating presently, Nigeria cannot bear it any longer, that we need a unicameral legislature, and that we should reduce the number of the lawmakers in the National Assembly, which of course, that is your area where you operate. Do you agree with that?
Look, I am for, if we are going to be honest and sincere with ourselves, we can even go back to a parliamentary system whereby all members must be elected, the prime minister must be elected, and his ministers must also be elected. Unlike now, where all ministers were not elected, some of them don't even have a constituency, because nobody knows them in their area. They were just appointed by Mr. President at his own leisure. So I don't mind going back to a parliamentary system, but if that is what Nigerians generally want, I will vote for it.
Let's go into the issue of security. The military is overstretched, obviously, because they have operations in at least 34 states of the 36 states of the country. Police numbers are inadequate. We have less than 400,000 policing about 200 million people. It does look like the situation might be overwhelming. In fact, some people are already asking that Nigeria should seek foreign help. What do you make of the situation in the northeast and in the northwest region of the country? The insecurity situation is getting to a worrisome level.
Yes, the northeast insurgency is, has been there with us for 12, 13 years. Yes, but the federal government, from the time of Mayor Adua and Goodluck Jonathan, has been doing their best with the resources they had at their disposal. And actually, this kind of war is not the conventional type of war. Actually, it shouldn't involve the Nigerian army at all. The police should be able to deal with it. But unfortunately, there were not enough police people there, police officers, to deal with this matter because they are too inadequate. Now, there was a time we advised Mr. President to engage, to recruit about 30,000 more policemen. And the exercise had started, and there was a rift between the Nigeria Police, the Inspector General side, and the Police Service Commission. And the act creating Police Service Commission and the law and the Constitution, they disagreed between them about the provisions of the Constitution and the act. And each one of them is claiming that recruitment and training is their own, whereas the Police Service Commission also says, oh yes, recruitment should be our own. And when we recruit and train them, we'll hand them over to you, Inspector General. And up to now, that exercise has never been completed, despite what is going on. There is an obvious need for more police, but this thing has not been resolved. They even went to court to resolve the issue. And that is the provision of the Constitution. The National Assembly cannot dictate or decide and say, look, all of you stop and we will decide for you. We have to wait for the law courts to decide. And up to this moment, the decision has not been done. So I agree. But in terms of provision of finance for the military to do their job, I think Mr. President has done all that is possible within the limits of the pocket of the federal government. The aircrafts that were ordered from America are not like kitchen knives that you can go to the market and buy. These aircrafts have to be manufactured specially for Nigeria. And they are in the process now. And people have been saying, oh, they lack money, they lack capital, they lack equipment. Yes, the equipment are being manufactured. There are no places in the world where you can go and buy ready-made planes of that nature. Nobody. Any country you go to, whether it's US or Russia or China or whichever country that manufactures such planes, you have to order. And you have to wait for the order to mature. And they produce them and deliver. So why are people in a hurry?
Perhaps because people are dying, I guess that's the reason why people are anticipating and in a hurry to see a solution. But just to wrap up the conversation,
yes.
Senator, as a member of the ruling APC, your party was received first in 2015 with sort of votes that it got in a massive way. It was an enormous support your party got. In 2019, considering the figures INEC announced, it was also an enormous support your party got. Do you suppose that your party may have lost that kind of steam that it had in 2015?
Well, you see, when APC won in 2015, of course, don't forget, they displaced a ruling party. And you don't expect them, the ruling party then, to just take it lying down. They have to do whatever they can to regain their popularity, to regain their position as party in power. And this exercise takes different forms, not necessarily just propaganda. It takes other forms. So if APC has lost some members due to the pressure and propaganda of opposition or some dissatisfaction within the party members too, who were expecting much, and they didn't get that much, well, that is natural. But then, why don't we cool down and wait for 2023 election to see what will happen? Obviously, 2023 would determine whether APC is still popular or it's not. And that will also show whether APC will field a popular candidate or not. So these are questions that can only be answered when we get to 2023.
And just briefly, Senator, if you can tell us, what in your own view is the best zone or the place to, the zone of the country to zone the presidency in 2023?
I don't even believe in zoning. I believe that the right candidate should be fielded by all the parties, and then let Nigerians choose the best among them. And those that have the number who believe in the same candidate will obviously win. Unless you don't want that, and which is against the norms of democracy, then I don't know, you can devise your own means. But I don't believe zoning is democratic. I don't believe zoning will produce the best president for the country.
Senator Adamu Bulkachuwa, Senator representing Bauchi North in the National Assembly and the Senate Chairman on Foreign Relations, thank you indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you very much too.
And that's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Shimon Kimale. Bye-bye.